Do expensive things actually make you happier? Not richer, not more impressive, not more admired, happier? It's a question most people think they already know the answer to. Some say yes, others say no. But the real answer is more uncomfortable than either side expects. Because expensive things don't create happiness the way we think they do. They don't fail the way critics claim either. They work, but only under very specific psychological conditions. And once you understand those conditions, you'll never look at money, luxury, or happiness the same way again. From the moment we're young, we absorb a quiet but powerful message. More money means a better life. Money promises comfort, security, and freedom from stress. And at first, this belief is supported by reality. When income rises from scarcity to stability, happiness genuinely increases. Bills become manageable, choices expand, and anxiety decreases. But after basic needs and comfort are met, something unexpected happens. Happiness stops rising at the same pace as spending, yet people don't stop wanting more. This is because our brains aren't actually chasing happiness. They're chasing relief from uncertainty, a sense of progress, and proof that life is moving forward. Expensive things become symbols of that progress. They don't just represent objects, they represent control, safety, and achievement. When people buy something expensive, they aren't only buying the product, they're buying reassurance. Reassurance that their effort mattered, that they're moving upward, and that their life is improving. This is why expensive things feel emotionally loaded. Not because they guarantee happiness, but because they speak directly to deep psychological needs rooted in survival, security, and self-worth. One of the strongest emotional benefits of expensive purchases doesn't come from ownership. It comes from anticipation, the waiting, the imagining, the mental rehearsal of a better version of life. Neuroscience shows that anticipation activates dopamine more reliably than possession itself. When you plan an expensive purchase, your brain begins simulating the future, how you'll feel, how others might see you, how your identity might shift. This imagined future creates a powerful emotional high. It's not the object that excites the brain, but the story attached to it. This is why the excitement often peaks before the purchase is made. Once the item arrives and becomes familiar, the emotional intensity fades. This isn't failure, it's biology. The brain is designed to reward pursuit more than permanence. Luxury feels powerful because it stretches the anticipation window, the waiting list, the research, the build-up. By the time the object arrives, much of the pleasure has already been experienced. Understanding this explains why people often feel briefly euphoric, then strangely neutral after expensive purchases. The happiness wasn't missing, it already happened. There is a psychological principle that explains why expensive things rarely create lasting happiness: hedonic adaptation. Humans are incredibly good at adjusting to new circumstances. What once felt extraordinary becomes normal faster than we expect. The luxury car becomes just transportation. The beautiful home becomes familiar walls. The expensive watch becomes something you stop noticing. This doesn't mean people are ungrateful. It means the brain prioritizes contrast, not consistency. Happiness spikes when something is new, then stabilizes as it becomes part of everyday life. This is why chasing happiness through increasingly expensive things often leads to disappointment. Each upgrade delivers a smaller emotional return. The mistake isn't buying expensive things, it's expecting permanence from temporary stimuli. Expensive items are emotional amplifiers, not foundations. They enhance moments, not identities. People who understand hedonic adaptation enjoy luxury without being controlled by it. Those who don't are trapped in a loop, always upgrading, never satisfied. Happiness fades not because luxury fails, but because the brain moves on. Despite all of this, expensive things can increase happiness when they serve meaning rather than ego. Research shows that money spent in alignment with personal values produces far more satisfaction than money spent for comparison or approval. Experiences tend to outperform objects because they integrate into memory and identity. But objects can function the same way when they symbolize growth, achievement, or a meaningful milestone. An expensive purchase tied to effort feels different from one driven by insecurity. When something represents discipline, patience, or a personal breakthrough, it carries emotional weight. The happiness lasts longer because it's reinforced by self-respect. The problem isn't spending money, it's outsourcing identity to objects. When luxury reflects who you are, it supports happiness. When it's used to compensate for what you lack emotionally, it fades quickly. Expensive things work best as markers of progress, not substitutes for it. Not all status is the same. External status depends on how others see you. Internal status depends on how you see yourself. Luxury pursued for external status is unstable because it requires constant validation. There's always someone richer, newer, louder. But luxury tied to internal status operates differently. When someone buys something expensive as a reward for effort, not as proof of worth, the emotional impact is grounded. It reinforces self-trust rather than comparison. The confidence it creates is quieter but stronger. This is why some people can own very expensive things without needing to show them. The object isn't performing for others. It's affirming something internal. Happiness grows when spending aligns with self-respect rather than insecurity. The difference is subtle but profound. One of the greatest contributors to happiness isn't buying power, it's control. Financial stability reduces mental noise. It lowers stress. It gives you the ability to choose. But this benefit comes from having money, not constantly spending it. Ironically, people who feel most secure with money often consume less. They don't need to prove anything. Happiness comes from autonomy, the ability to say yes or no without fear. Expensive things feel good when they reinforce control. They feel hollow when they remove it through debt, pressure, or regret. The quiet luxury of choice outperforms the loud luxury of consumption every time. Expensive things become dangerous when they are driven by comparison. Social media intensifies this instinct by exposing us to endless curated success. The brain begins measuring worth visually. This creates an unwinnable game. No matter what you buy, someone else has more. Happiness tied to comparison collapses because the reference point keeps moving. Luxury stops being a personal choice and becomes a social reaction. The result is constant dissatisfaction. The moment spending is motivated by keeping up, happiness becomes impossible. Not because luxury is wrong, but because comparison is infinite. People who genuinely enjoy expensive things without emptiness tend to follow the same patterns. They buy slowly. They buy intentionally. They understand why they're buying. They don't stretch themselves financially for appearances. They view luxury as enhancement, not escape. They don't expect objects to solve emotional problems. As a result, their purchases feel lighter, more satisfying, less urgent. Happiness doesn't come from what they own. It comes from alignment between values, effort, and reward. So do expensive things make you happier? Sometimes, temporarily, conditionally. They don't create happiness. They magnify what already exists. If your life has meaning, luxury can enhance it. If your life feels empty, luxury exposes that emptiness over time. Money is a powerful amplifier, but a poor foundation. The real luxury isn't the object. It's peace, it's autonomy, it's living in alignment with who you are. And no price tag can replace that.